Hey, everybody, it's John Small, and you are tuned into Small Talk Live on Substack. Thank you all for joining. I love this vibrant, incredible Gen X and other community. Um, I want to introduce my guest today. They are the founders and editors. I guess we didn't really formally figure, but I'm going to say you the founders and editors of Geezer Magazine. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah.
Yay. Look at that.
Laura LeBlue and Paul von Zielbauer, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you. It's great to be here.
I,
Terrific to be here, John.
I am really
Yeah.
excited to have you and talking about one of my favorite topics in the world, which is print magazines and Gen X. So it's like two topics that I really enjoy. And I was really excited to find out that, your backgrounds. And I'd love to find out before we kind of get into how you created this magazine and why you created this magazine. Let's just talk a little bit about who you guys are, and you talk a little bit like your professional background, kind of where you are in your Gen X life right now. Well, quick elevator. If you could. Laura, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I actually have a background in theater, and so that's my jazz hand soul.
As an actor.
Yeah, as an
Oh,
actor and also a producer and a director. So I've been just that's been a drumbeat throughout my life. But I have made my professional career as a writer, first in advertising copywriting in New York City, and then most recently, for last decade or so, I've been working in technology. And so I have been writing for other people all my life. And Geezer it was an opportunity to finally, in my 50s, have a vehicle to express what was important to me, and to actually do something that felt like it channeled my own creativity, which in our 50s I think is so important.
yeah. Paul, what
Yeah.
about you? Paul, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, my background's I have a pretty circuitous CV or resume, but the I think the anchor is that I came up through journalism. I've always considered myself a journalist and a reporter writer, which are not the same things.
Yeah.
But I've learned to be both, and I spent 11 years at the New York Times as a staff journalist. And the paper report nominated my work in back in the day now, a couple of 20 years ago, for a Pulitzer Prize, some investigative work. So I have been around the block. And of course, I was at the Times, what I would say right at the end of the print era heyday, 1999 to 2010, right before the internet learned how to kill off most print publications. Um, so that was interesting, and then I left to go do some other things, including starting a company that called Road Monkey that did what I called adventure philanthropy, taking people overseas for a really ass-kicking physical adventure, like cycling through the highlands of Vietnam or
Wow.
climbing Kilimanjaro, and then combining that with a hands-on volunteer project. So we built a lot of playgrounds for kids from underserved communities in many different countries in Central America, South America, East Africa, and so on. That was it was a great idea. Didn't make any money, so I returned
Don't
to
most great ideas, unfortunately.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you wonder if it was before its time or just
Right.
of no time whatsoever. Maybe the latter. But then I returned to journalism, and I now run a Substack called Aging with Strength. Aging with strength in all the different ways, not just physical, that are important for people. Like I'm 59, just turned 59, and things are changing in a lot of different ways for a lot of us, and not just in our bodies or in our brains, but with our families, our parents, our children, what have you. And so Laura and I Laura created the idea of Geezer, and she's the founding editor. I'm a co-founder of it, but the idea is that there's so much more to talk about for
Yeah.
people in our generation that haven't been served well by very paltry offerings that maybe AARP. Nothing against AARP, but we think we can um, express different things and important ideas about what the Gen X aging experience is all about.
Yeah, I think I don't know anyone of the Gen X vintage that did not feel kind of a visceral rage when they got their first AARP
Does it
flyer.
come on your 50? Is it
Yeah,
it
I
does.
think I got mine right when I was like there. It's like they found me.
It's
I'm
definitely
pretty
a
sure
rite of passage
I
that it's
set it on
not.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm like, no, no, no,
very
no.
much.
This is not. This is for my mom. This isn't
Yeah.
for me. And
Yeah.
that's what Paul was talking about. Like I just well, I just saw this huge gap in the conversations that were being had about what it's like to be us getting older. And a lot of the stuff out there felt kind of patronizing and anodyne and not relevant to where I was personally. And so I figured there's got to be a lot of us out there.
And I think you're right, and this is sort of a lane that I found on Substack sort of accidentally, but
Mm.
I'm happy I found it because now I can write about what I'm really interested about, and like you said, writing about for people other than you used to always have to write about for somebody else. It's nice to write about yourself and about things that are of interest to you, right? And it's a real freedom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have found that, as I've gotten to know this generation even better than I thought I knew it, that I'm very proud to be a Gen Xer, and I'm also um, pissed that the mainstream media.
We're all pissed.
Yeah,
We're all
the
a little, yeah, we're a little
we are.
spicy.
That's part of being a Gen Xer is that we're just angry. But
We were
I'm
born
annoyed that
spicy, right?
media that we spend a lot of money and yet the media, I mean, all the things in a capitalist society that would sort of give us a more attention, you would think, actually has not worked in our favor, and maybe for the better. Like we don't want to be served a ton of ads, but at the same time, like there's not a lot of media that is targeted at us, that is for us, especially in the news media. And so, yeah, you guys are really filling a vacuum here, and hopefully, I'm helping to fill that vacuum too. Let's
Totally.
talk about first of all, how'd you guys find each other? Because you're in different parts of the country, not the country, not that far, but one's in Paul's in Southern California, Laura's in Northern California. How did you come together and come up with this idea?
Well, we both work at the same place. I actually still have a day job as a senior managing editor of thought leadership at a software company. So this is like,
Ooh,
oh,
oh,
no one knows what that is.
Fancy.
yeah, they
It's just
love to
word
create these
salad.
titles. Yeah,
But Paul and I worked at the same company together until he couldn't stand it anymore and he left. And
Voluntarily, I
I
might
stuck
add.
it in
you met there.
voluntarily. Yes,
Hmm.
I stuck it in because someone had to pay to create a print only magazine.
Yeah,
So this is self funded. I should say that too, and I'm very transparent about it. Like if I gave up, as I have given up a decade of my life to really just focus on my career, but it's a career in service of other people's expression. I was like, you know what? I got some stock. I'm cashing it out, and I'm going to make a fucking magazine. So
yeah,
that is where
goodness.
Geezer is, and we definitely want. I mean, that's not sustainable.
Yeah, I was saying you don't
That's
want
why we
that's
need
not.
Yeah, we have a
subscribers.
short 1 year runway to make
Yeah,
this
we
profitable.
got to make this baby work. So we're hoping, subscribers, and who knows, maybe someone will want to give us advertising dollars, which I think they should because Gen X has a shit ton of money and we want to spend it
Ton of
on
money,
stuff
and if
like
it's the
this,
right
right?
advertiser, yeah, why wouldn't and they will spend it if it's an honest, I think I did an article about this a few weeks ago about how I think it's always been hard to market to Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Because there's been so many failures over the years of people just trying to target.
Oh, right. Did you do like the Pepsi free or
Yeah,
what? I read
there
this
was
one.
like a
It was really
McDonald's, there was like all sorts of different
they
like
tried to be
like
cool for us
Pepsi
and
Zero or something. Yeah, there
yeah,
was all these
that
different products that tried to be cool and like cynical and like ironic and all this stuff and like tried to kind of mimic what
yeah.
and just failed miserably.
That does
Um,
not pass the
the Gen
Gen
X
X
test.
sniff test, right? We're like, no, no, no,
So
no.
you created, and I'll show it again. You created this magazine, which Paul so kindly actually hand delivered to me yesterday, which was awesome because I was glad that I got
Yeah,
to read
I
it.
think we're gonna hand deliver all the magazines from now
Wow,
on
that's
because
very Gen X.
I got a chance to talk with John in his living room and his fluffy black cat for half an hour. I mean, it
Oh, it's
was
the best. Because it's nice when you have visitors. I mean, I'm just always like home alone in my apartment with my kitty, And then all of a sudden the doorbell rings. My wife's like, "Hey, there's some guy out
A
here."
creepy
there's
guy
some
outside with a
random
magazine.
And I was like, "Who is this strange man?" But anyway, you came to my living room. My kitty was feeling particularly amorous that day, and was Stevie
Wow.
Nips, as we call her. Yeah, no, she's very sweet.
Means the cat. People.
Yeah, my cat. Yeah, that sounded kind of strange. Anyway, before we go further, I have to address this question from Joanne Milne. He said, "I would love to know what shade, Laura. I'd love to know what shade you dyed your hair. It looked blonde and pink. It's lovely. And it also
Thank
matches
you.
your cool sweater."
Oh my God. I feel so seen. Thank you. Because yes, the funny thing, the older I get, the lighter my hair gets.
Right.
Because it's the only way to cover up the grays. I have no idea what this is called, but listen, if you can get in touch with me, I will ask my stylist and I will get back to you and let you
Okay,
know.
you were on Substack. Yeah, so
Yes,
find her
yes.
anyway. All right, that was a little break, and now we go back to our regular programming. So let's talk about when you're okay. So you guys get together. You decide to start this magazine.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
the name come first? I want to talk a little bit about the name Geezer later. Like what? So the name is Geezer, and
I
it's
will.
interesting because there is a advertising agency that also caters to Gen X called Geezer out of Minnesota. And I only know this because they were referenced in this article that this infamous article that the New York Times
Yeah. Yeah.
about a year ago about how Gen X is dead and how like we're candle makers in the age of electricity and all this stuff. And it mentioned this company. But anyway, is there a relation there or what's going on with that?
No, so I'll jump in the front end of this, and then Paul can take up the second part. So Geezer literally came to me in the shower. I'm not even kidding. It was like a full. It was a vision. I'm not even joking. I was in the shower, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I saw this image. I have a magazine. It was going to be called Geezer." That like there was no audience testing. There was no
Yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
literally,
No
it was just
focus
like
groups.
woo from my brain. So so that's where Geezer came from. And I've actually some people are like, well, Geezer, that's not a good word. We're like, well, when you just don't get it, sorry, you don't, then you're probably not Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that name because I worked for an English company. I worked for Maxim magazine, which had a
Oh my gosh.
English,
No way.
yeah, in the 90s, and they used to call you, "Oi, Giza."
Oh, Giza. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Totally
So
different sort of
it's a totally different thing. But so Geezer, yeah. I mean, some people might. I'm gonna be devil's advocate. Some people might say, "Well, we're not geezers are old, super old people."
Oh yeah.
Tell
Yeah,
me,
it's supposed to be.
ironic.
There are a few shades of irony layered on top of the
Right.
name, and I just love the word. I think it's fun. It's a great word.
Yeah.
And Paul, do you want to talk about the advertising agency?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, so it was a little bit serendipitous. And as Laura had mentioned, when we first started talking about Geezer, like this is definitely in the cultural ferment, this idea of, because first of all, we're taking back the word geezer. So
Yeah.
anybody who's offended by it, sorry, but
It's
somebody
word.
has to take
Yeah.
it
Sorry,
back.
but not sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I tell my daughter, love you mean it doesn't really mean you love them. It means the opposite. But so the way Geezer magazine unfolded was Laura, like she said, had this epiphany in the shower, like Einstein, scribbling the equation into the steam on the
That is
window.
the only time that Einstein and I will be in the same sentence, I think.
And
But I appreciate it.
we had just started hearing about Geezer Creative, which is the creative advertising agency out of Minnesota. And the reason and what is interesting about that is the Karen McKinley, a co-founder of Geezer Creative, which is doing some really great work and very outspoken on LinkedIn, especially about, how many 50-something advertising people with blue chip experience in the industry can't get an entry-level job now because
Yeah.
of ageism, which I didn't ever think was real until it happened to me. And I think I'm among many people like that. So anyway,
Show of hearts. How many people have experienced ageism in the workplace? I am now doing a heart here, but yeah, you can heart.
if I could do 7 hearts, I would do 7 hearts.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it like hit me as the proverbial ton of bricks. But long story short, Karen McKinley, co-founder of Geezer Creative, which is not related to Geezer Magazine, is the sister of one of my close friends from college. Dave McKinley.
Wow, what a coincidence.
I thought that was just crazy. And I want to clarify, Geezer magazine the name came before we even knew that there was Geezer. Yeah, like they were, but that tells me that we're in the cultural, like we're in the pocket, you know. This is something, this is something that is
about the G word. Yeah.
Nothing but a G thing. So, but they were completely separate originations. We weren't like, oh, that's a cool name, let's steal it. So I think it's important to say that.
But I love what they're doing, and I think there's room for all of us too. You know, there is just totally is. Yeah.
And I don't know in the sort of chronology of this whether coming up with the name was first, but at what point did you guys both decide this needs to be a print magazine? Because a lot of people, the tendency now obviously is to go online, like it's much cheaper, and that's the way people are consuming content. But you guys went like super analog, and
100%.
Near and dear to my heart, you went to a print magazine. For those who don't know, my entire background is print magazines. I worked at print magazines all through the 90s and the early 2000s in New York, like Paul. And so tell me why you decided to go print.
I will jump on that again, because actually that was part of the shower epiphany. It was also, it
goes back to the shower.
All the good things happen in the shower. But I will say I was very influenced because I had started getting into print magazines again. And I started subscribing to Mountain Gazette, which is a wonderful outdoor, also large format, even bigger than ours.
Yeah, yours is huge. I don't know if people have.
Oh yeah, you guys. I mean, it is a chunker. It is 11 by 15. So this thing is like, it is sturdy.
Yeah, I don't know. It won't. As far as like distribution on magazine stands, like can Hudson News even accommodate?
Well, we are carried at Casa magazines in New York City right now. So yeah, but we stand out because we're.
And that was an idea is to do it big. You're going to go big.
Yeah, I want to do it large format because I wanted to have something. And Paul and I had these conversations. Like, we want this to feel tribal. We want it to feel like something that you get it and you're like, I'm a geezer, and you want to put it on your coffee table and share it with people. So that's kind of that. Also, I will say, I, as someone who has been creating content for, and I hate content, that word is just so.
First word.
It's just so.
Hate word.
It's right. It's just like, so, but I have been a content creator. And I know what it is to get into the, that grind of just having to bake the donuts, that digital grind, because people just expect you to be or just are inundated with this constant stuff. Yeah. And my sense is that we're drowning in empty calories of digital content. Yep. They come to us, they kind of fill us up, but we feel bloated, not satisfied. And none of it really sticks, kind of flows in and out. And of course, there's a place for it. I read online all the time, but I wanted to have something that it felt substantial, that felt like it would live with you, and that would speak to you. And also, Geezer is for everyone, really. Like, there's a lot of places in the magazine that you can contribute to. Like, we want people to send us our lunch boxes, a picture of their favorite lunch box, just stuff like that. So we really, I feel like Geezer, especially issue number 1, is my mixtape to the world. And so really, Paul, please jump in.
So, it's really nice to read something on paper nowadays. It's like we all look at our phones, 3 times as long as we should. We're all on screens as we are now, which is lovely to be on and talk to people. But man, when I get a chance to just sort of look at a piece of paper with writing on it that isn't a bill or something from my bank, it's really fun. And Geezer, the magazine, it's large on purpose. It's sort of ostentatious with a purpose to be, it's supposed to be a statement, and we hope it is. And it invites people just to sort of leave it, create a conversation around. I mean, we want it to be art, like the cover, which Laura came up with, which I thought was really great.
The cover is a lot of cassette tapes, and they're like, there's a Geezer mix #1, and then there's an XTC. Like, I love how like there's like different things that you've scribbled on the names of the way we used to do back in the day, where you would scribble.
Yeah,
this is my XTC mix, and this is my
yeah.
And there's a Tilt Tuesday. You have I'm going to just get into. You've got a Tilt Tuesday. You have a 10,000 Maniacs. How did you pick the tapes? Was it just the stuff that was in your collection?
I went out and I sourced a lot of them.
Right.
I actually, that Geezer mix #1, oh man, I should go get it. That came from, I found a tranche of these old tapes. And the fact that it was a blank Radio Shack tape.
Yeah, it's a realistic.
And it's a realistic.
Right, realistic.
Yes.
And honestly, I always found those tapes to be the ones that would break a lot. Like those.
Of course, they were Radio Shack.
Yeah, they were
crap.
I would usually go with the Memorex or the TDK.
Oh, yeah, you had to. But I just love that. I mean, it's so like, that's so of our time. Radio Shack, the fact that, I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, but that's where we went to get all of our stuff. So that came to be blank. And you know what? Just without thinking about it, I just scribbled that as my handwriting, Geezer mix #1 on it. It's all analog. Again, there is no none of these things were photoshopped. I have every single one of these tapes. There's also a really deep cut by a band called Big Head Todd and the Monsters in there.
Oh,
I just put that in there for anyone who
that is beyond my realm of Gen X knowledge, and I have pretty deep pop culture knowledge.
John, so I have a friend, Wendy Bounds, who's who runs the Wall Street Journal Executive Leadership Institute, and she brought the magazine to a bunch of people in the office, to the media desk, I guess, and she said a bunch of millennials kind of crowded around the magazine, like, "What's this? Look at the tapes," and they were really like, "Who's this for? Why is this printed? What the hell is this about?" And so I feel like, well, maybe that's a signal that it could appeal to people who aren't just Gen X or older, but also younger people.
Well, as humans, I feel like we crave analog, especially
millennials and Gen Z have a word for it. It's called in real life, right?
IRL.
Which is incredible that you have to actually come up with a term for something that's, tangible. And, but anyway, we do. And I have a dream. That one day we will go back, at least, a lot of us will go back and sort of embrace the analog stuff that we love so much. But I did want to talk to you about that because there's so much I want to talk to you about. But I did want to talk to you about, I titled this this podcast or this Substack Live, is print the new vinyl, and we've seen how vinyl. I mean, I've got vinyl in back of me right here. We've seen how vinyl has kind of like taken hold, certainly among like hipsters and like tastemakers and stuff. And I wonder if I'm just wondering if print might follow a same kind of trajectory, like maybe, and I hope so, because man, I have a lot of vinyl. I have a lot of print magazines in my closet here that I could sell for a pretty penny. But I wonder if it will take. Do you think it might have the same effect? Like, do you think people might get excited about print the way they are excited about vinyl?
I can see it. I can see, like a fashion shoot from like Anthropologie or some other fashion brand, which I don't know why I know Anthropologie, because it's a women.
Part of the whole
banana store here in Santa Monica.
That's about the extent of Paul's.
That's as you can tell. That's about the extent.
By the way, this podcast brought to you by Anthropologie. Hey, they could be a next advertiser.
But I could see some 20 or 19-year-old person, flipping through Geezer magazine or any print magazine and kind of just having that be cool again. Because I think we're all just looking for an off-ramp to all the bullshit that we get flooded with through our screens.
Yeah. 100%.
It's almost like AI will make it more desirable because again, it's just one step away from reality.
Yeah.
And
100. Oh, I just have to say,
craving. Yeah, no.
We're craving authenticity in a world that is becoming, increasingly plasticized, or what, I don't know how to describe it.
Commoditized by M dashes, and it's not this, it's that AI bullshit, right? I mean,
hey, but
it is always no. It's always threes. Why is it always threes? It's always triads.
You cannot take my M dash away, though. I am not
Yeah, I
going to be
hate
M
that.
dash shamed
No,
by
yeah,
AI.
I used M dashes before AI. I'm going to
Yeah,
continue
Yes,
to use them.
exactly.
too.
But
Me too,
yeah,
and I get frustrated that the M dash has become a thing.
I know.
But
John, I
Triad,
want to
you can
say,
take those away. Go ahead.
yeah. When I have a 15-year-old son, and I was talking to him about Geezer before it was printed, and he looked at me and he was like, "Yeah, Mom, analog is fire." And I thought,
Best thing
is that good?
okay, that is good. Yeah,
that's
Paul,
the
that is.
best thing
I'll
you
be
can
your.
say is fire.
It was, yeah, analog is fire. So I think that maybe even more so for kids who were, just raised digitally, they're just looking around and going, wait, what? There are things you can hold and touch, and like to them, this
Dude,
is
I don't have to turn it on. It's just there.
it's just there. But I
There
mean, he's
and there's
also
just
the
something
kid
about that
who,
experience of, like, lying on your bed and just, like, flicking through a magazine. It's just, like, the
yeah,
best. Yeah,
right. Oh,
or
and
I
just
can't be on
like
a
remember when
plane without a magazine. Like, I still go to the Hudson News just to buy
the Hudson News, yeah.
right? It's always like I gotta have a tangible magazine on a plane. Like, that's just such a ritual for me. I don't know, maybe for other people. It's the only time I ever see people reading magazines, honestly, on planes.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
But I hope it's not wishful thinking. I mean, it does feel like this is like a real thing, and I think it really has been, fueled by just the slop, the AI slop, that we are dealing with now. Everybody thought, "Oh, every AI is gonna take over everything," and yes, AI is obviously gonna make a huge impact in our lives, but I think there's
Yeah.
also gonna be a reaction to it, like, almost like a revolution.
And
Yeah.
I wanna say Geezer is 100% AI free, and that's actually in our
Awesome.
masthead. It's part of our
DNA.
DNA, right? Like you're not gonna come and have any AI created content that is written or visual.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I mean, I think you're right, John, that there's going to be just like in politics, there's pendulums. Like if it gets too far this way, sort of the political physics or cultural physics in our case kind of makes it swing back toward the other way. And, like, I mean, the fact that 15-year-olds or younger and older too are kind of, ironically or not, sort of rejecting the screen in order to read the page, is encouraging. And I think people are just, ultimately we're all humans. Sounds stupid, but it's true. And I don't think we haven't evolved to where we are now to sort of be on screens as much as we are.
Yeah.
And so the pendulum's kind of moving back, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, so Caldera writes here, print, vinyl, cassettes. VHS is making a big comeback here in Chicago. People crave analog, tangible media. Couldn't agree more.
That's awesome.
I think magazines are kind of maybe I'm hoping the next frontier. It's like VHS. And I get it. Like when people, listen to vinyl records, they say not only do they love the experience of just, holding a record, but it sounds better to a lot of people, certainly to me, as a DJ. I think, maybe you could make the same case for reading something in print, that it just reads better than that kind of experience of looking at something on a screen. It's you're reading so quickly on the screen just by the nature of the sort of scrolling nature of the medium. It's just
Mhm.
Yeah.
a really different experience of reading. Yeah.
Yeah, it's slow. It's a slow consumption. And like, we think that Geezer, you need to get your Geezer, sit in a comfy chair or get cozy on the couch, get yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of wine, or
Or a bottle of whiskey.
a bottle of whiskey, whatever. Get
Bottle
whatever
of red,
floats
bottle
your
of
boat.
white. Yeah.
Your
Uh,
shotgun.
It's
Right. So let's talk about the first issue and coming up with the story ideas. You have a lot of contributors in here. Hopefully one day I will be a contributor.
Yeah, let's talk.
Making a bid. Let's talk.
Awesome.
I'm free. I want to contribute to it.
A few hundreds in an envelope, John, and we can get
yeah.
you on the masthead.
Exactly. I know people. But no, let's talk about the idea. So the ideation of, was it sort of a traditional way that you sort of sat around and kind of brainstormed a bunch of ideas? How did you figure out what was going to be, and I hate the word use content, but the ideas that would fill your magazine?
Lori, do you want to do the let's build a car in our garage analogy? Or should I?
Yeah. Well, I think, this was very much hey guys, we got a barn, let's put on a show sort of a thing. And that's how I approach a lot of stuff. We're a DIY generation. We just want to make things. And so the first issue largely came about from both Paul and I just tapping into people we knew and people whose voices we loved, whose stories we found interesting and that had a geezer twist. That we're still defining. We're talking about what makes something. What makes something right for Geezer magazine. So a lot of the content.
I know. I
A
don't
lot of
know.
the articles. How about the stories? A lot
Articles.
of the
Yeah.
stories, articles, the things you're going to find in Geezer are like me tapping into a friend I know or someone like Cintra Wilson is a contributor. She's the one she did this amazing profile on Mark Pauline, who is this fantastic artist who basically pioneered the whole genre of robot, like mechanical art. So he creates these insane robots that blow fire and blow up, and people are always
I love a good blowing up robot.
slightly fearful for their lives when
Yeah.
when he had these shows. So she knew him. She pitched that to me. I reached out to her because I was like, Cinder Wilson, I love your writing. What do you want to do for us? And she said, I know Mark Pauline. He's a total geezer. We got to get him in there. So there was a lot of kismet, a lot of really interesting organic connections that arose to help us shape the all the storytelling that went into issue number 1.
Yeah, and if I could just there's that, like, that guy who's a sort of anarchist artist.
Yeah.
I think we called him the last dangerous artist in America.
Yeah.
There's a story about the drag laureate of San Francisco, a guy named Darcy Drollinger, who's a personal friend of Laura's, but she even writes a profile that examines some of the things he's going through professionally and personally. And then we did a piece on a guy named B.J. Miller, who is a palliative care hospice ER doctor who started a company called Mettle, Mettle, Mettle Health, to address all of the things that our employer run healthcare system doesn't, in terms of helping people who are in a state of grief or a state of crisis or a long-term illness, or caregiving for parents or family members, because the insurance-based healthcare doesn't do that. So these guys just address a different kind of healthcare, basically what's happening inside in your heart and your mind. And so we did a feature on them, and then a bunch of different smaller things that are just kind of slightly ironic, a little bit nostalgic, but not too much, because that we can go overboard. So we try to just mix it up, and, like I said, build a car in the barn.
Yeah.
What do you mean going a little bit overboard on nostalgia? Because I've when I'm creating my content is just a word that's ingrained in my brain. When I'm creating my articles for Substack, I kind of I try to do a balance between stuff that we're thinking about now, in terms of, like, we're the sandwich generation. We're thinking about our parents and our kids and ageism and issues that are very prescient for us now. But then also kind of looking back, because I do find that I and the people that read my stuff really are interested in, like, nostalgia, and, like, it's fun to think about, like, what's the anthem of Gen X, and what are, like, the 5 best comedies of the 80s. Like, people love to think about that stuff, because nobody writes about that anymore. Right?
Paul and we've had conversations about nostalgia and geezer and where it belongs, how much of it belongs, because we don't want to feel like we're steeped in nostalgia and that we're only looking back. We really want to be about who Gen X is today, what we're dealing with, and looking forward. But we also love our, we love our Gen X totems also, so we're really, really striving for that balance. I wanted to mention one more story in here that's by a woman named Kim Cross, who's a New York Times bestselling author. And, we're speaking of the sandwich generation. She wrote an amazing piece for us called Memory of a Goldfish, where she, from her perspective, shares her story of her son's about to go to college. And at the very same time, her mother is moving into the house because her mom has dementia. And so she has this year where she has her son and her mom, and she's trying to deal with all of these things the emotional loss of her son. She's going to be an empty nester, but she's also going to be mothering her own mother. And that to me, I think it's one of my favorite pieces, and it's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
beautiful. And I was so glad you had that piece in there because that is definitely a issue that does not get enough attention. It's something that kind of took us, I think, by surprise. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think
right,
thought about that we would be at a place in our lives where we had to think about our parents and our kids
yeah,
simultaneously, and the sort of the burden, and not only just the complicate. I live on the West Coast. My mom's on the East Coast. I've got a son in London. I mean, it's all over the place, like all the different considerations and stuff. I think
Yeah.
my mom is healthy right now, but we're talking about about next stages and stuff because we have to think
yeah,
about that now.
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of people. So when I was starting Aging with Strength, the Substack, 15 months ago, I was asking friends, like, like, what's going on with you? What matters to you? Because I didn't want to just write about what I think is important. And striking was how many people I know just said, "Look, I'm dealing with a parent who may be in a different state of the United States, just who is now on the tip of dementia, and she doesn't want to move out of her house or whatever it may be. But I have a life here. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I have responsibilities. How do I manage this? Like,
yeah,
nothing in our culture has even hinted that this is something I should be prepared for.
Right.
Like, we barely get enough, idea that we need to save for retirement, much less, hey, if your parents, fall ill or have a cognitive neuro degenerative disease, like, here's how to do this. No, like, so I feel like that's one of the big gaping holes that is ironic and, kick ass and all this other stuff that Geezer will be. It also needs to sort of just really address some of the really painful human things that a lot of us are going to go
yeah.
through or are going through now.
Yeah. What are some other issues that you guys are dealing with that you've thought about maybe for the next issue, to give a preview of the next issue, that are just issues that you feel like aren't addressed enough that really need some ink?
Good question.
Ooh,
Well, you and I
good.
talked about, we've talked a little bit about ageism in this.
Ageism is huge. Actually, we're going Sari Botten, who runs Oldster. It's just a
On
fabulous
Substack.
Substack.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She and I and Paul, we talked a little while ago, and we're going to be profiling her in issue number 2. And it's largely going to be about, her journey to creating Oldster Substack. Came from her leaving a job and thinking she would 100% be able to, with her chops, her experience, all of the contacts she had, she figured she'd be able to just jump into another position, bada bing, no problem. This was
Yeah.
when she was in her early 50s. And it was like she jumped and it was like falling off a cliff. She could not get another position. So she had to do what we are all doing. She had to create her own she had to create her own way of sustaining,
Yeah.
and she turned it into this amazing kind of like Substack empire. And so that's definitely something that we're going to be digging into, like how are people responding and how can we take care of ourselves and each other at
Yeah.
a time when there is a lot of ageism.
I find that, so that's really important because, and just to be very candid about my experience, like, the reason I started Aging with Strength and the reason I had the time is because, I had the same experience. I took a job with a venture capital company as a head of content, which very VC of them, 16 or 18 months later, they were like, we don't need this position anymore. So thanks for your service and see you later. And I thought, okay, I'll just
Move on to the next thing.
find the next thing. I'm New York Times, Columbia Journalism, Fulbright Scholarship.
Wow.
I'll do some. I'm not humble bragging. I'm just saying, like,
No, but it sounds like my resume.
That's a great resume. Come
That's
on.
incredible
I
resume.
had never had that much of a problem finding the next thing. And I spent 2 years not getting a single offer. It's like, what's different now? Like, this is starting to feel like it's me. But then I had friends say, Paul, the story you're telling me is what I'm hearing from literally 10 of my friends,
Yeah.
who are sort of the same age. And then I realized, I think we're at the tip of a very dangerous, big, gross grotesque iceberg
Mhm.
where, and the Times and other places have written about Gen X in this way a little bit. But if you're like if you're creative, or if you're certainly in marketing or anything that people think AI can just do better than you, and they falsely perhaps think that, then you're kind of fucked. And even coder, I mean, like, engineers, people
Yeah.
who code, these are all jobs that are getting wiped off by the tens of thousands by the big tech companies. So anyway, there's a lot of pain out there that I think is, it's like, it's embarrassing to say, like, I can't get a job or something like that. And it's not you, it's them. I mean, it's really not
Yeah.
you. It's the
That's
culture
yeah.
that sees, I don't know, gray hair or whatever they see, and they're just like, no, no, thanks. We'll just hire somebody who's 20 years younger. And sometimes that makes sense. I don't want to sound bitter, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think it's happening to a lot of people. So my point was that Geezer needs to really address that, because I think there's just a lot of sub rosa, pain and suffering and self doubt, because I went through it too. That is undeserved. It needs to be addressed, but it's not just because we're no longer good at what we do. And I think that's what part of what the seed for Geezer was.
And I think
Yeah.
other generations have probably experienced this, maybe the boomers, but they also had like pensions, and they had like, there was a little bit of a
What's
different.
a pension, John?
Yeah, exactly. They had safety nets that were
Right?
created so that when you came across, it was really actually time to maybe move on, they actually were able to move on. And we find ourselves in a situation where
Yeah,
this is happening, but we don't have these safety nets like
No.
past, and that's scary for a lot of people. And so, what I've been trying to encourage people is to sort of think about, becoming more multi hyphenates. Again, not a great term, but to do more than one thing, like, because we grew up kind of with the belief that you got this job, you worked hard, you kind of worked up the ladder, and then by the time you were like an executive at that company you worked at, or wherever the position you worked at, like, I thought I would be an editor in chief of some magazine for the next 20 years, and then I would get out at 65 and be happy. No, that kind of, in my 30s, I realized that magazines were imploding, and then I had to pivot them many times. But what I have found has worked for me, and it's not for everybody, is that I'm a little bit of like a solopreneur, where I have a lot of different things going on at once. It's exhausting.
yeah,
Uh,
it's exhausting.
it's exhausting, but at the same time, I'm hoping that maybe one of those things takes off more, so much that I can sort of just kind of lean more into that thing. But I do think it's important to experiment with like a few side hustles, and try,
Mhm.
rather than
Yeah,
like, I'm going to get my next big job and that's going to be my income now for the next 2 years. Like, that's not going to happen anymore
Yeah.
because of this nature of this ageism that we're dealing.
yeah. And you can't trust them, you can't trust an employer, sorry to say, or the fact that you're employed. That's so ephemeral now. I mean, in the culture. So Geezer, like I said, Geezer was how Laura and I were thinking about how do we reinforce the idea that some people are just getting started in their 50s
Yeah.
or late 40s
Yeah.
or early 60s. Like, this is not a time where don't believe the bullshit about, thank you for your service.
And
Here's
here's
your watch, gone fishing and collect stamps, all that bullshit, which is fine to do if that's what you want to do. But we're really about, no, you're still powerful. You still have plenty of intellectual and other firepower, and Geezer Magazine is a way to express that in all the different ways, creative, professional, and there's just not that much that's reinforcing that idea that we found.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you saw Tori Amos. This clip was circulating of Tori Amos in a concert, and something happened. She forgot something on stage, and she was like, "Oh, it's that perimenopausal that thing." And she was like, "It's the one thing I don't like." And then she turned and she looked at the audience and she said, "But darlings, there are so many things about it that I do." She said, "When you are 50, you will understand what fire is." And that just like, man, did that just strike me to the core, because that's how I am feeling about my 50s. Like, this is the time for us to to really burn brightest. And we have so much energy. We've got experience now. And we can really make this our time to
Yeah.
to explode,
Totally agree.
in a
And
creative,
I love it.
professional, whatever that way is.
And for all my complaining, sorry, Paul, for all my complaining about, ageism and all this, I'm actually enjoying this time of my life probably more than like any time. Like I'm really having a great time. Do I stress out about money stuff? Of course I do. But I feel like I feel more free now than I've ever felt in terms of, just like what I can do with my life. I don't know if other people feel that way about their 50s, but I find it very exciting. It's nerve-wracking, but exciting. But I guess that's kind of what life is in some way.
Yeah.
You can't feel fire without actually a fire. You're not going to feel a fire on the golf course, or playing pickleball. I mean, the fire comes from conflict.
Pick the two sports that I can't stand the most.
Oh, really? Uh-oh.
Paul has a personal vendetta against pickleball.
Oh, no, Paul, you and I have to talk.
I'm just going to lose all of your,
Yeah, I know. Like, it's okay if you do, people. I'm not judging you.
You got a pickleball fan here, so he's going to have to fight that.
It's okay. I'm neutral. I am neutral. I will tennis. I will pickleball. I just like to have fun. That's all I'm going to say.
Anyway, yes, I think it's important that we stress, and I think in a very Gen X way, we can be very cynical and very, sarcastic and negative about stuff, but there is actually a lot of exciting things about being this age too.
Yeah. And I feel like our generation is actually uniquely suited to tackle these issues that are happening because no one was looking at us when we were kids anyway. We had to figure it out, right? Like I had to, I was learning how to go on the bus by myself to downtown El Paso, Texas library when I was 8 years old. And I'd be like, bye, Mom. You get your 25 cents or whatever.
Laura, that's not the highlight. The highlight is you going by yourself at 14 over the bridge to Juarez, by yourself with $5, spending all day in Juarez. And then
can you imagine letting our kids do that now? Like our parents were the worst, but also kind of awesome. Like
hold on. I need to add some color into that little anecdote, Paul. Okay, I would never go over by myself. It was always with a few friends.
Oh, that's good.
And we're also 14.
We're also 14, 15, and $2 would buy you 8 shots of tequila, little slammers. So
when you were 14,
yeah, I had a different upbringing.
No, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like,
but no, that was not entirely
uncommon. Really happen in Santa Monica right now.
Well, I grew up on the border in El Paso, Texas, so
so
that was available to us. Let's just put it that way.
Well, we would, drive into the Bronx, and that was pretty to buy. I would go into to get vinyl. Some of my friends would get pot, and there were some stories. There were some stories back then.
But did you ever ride through Bed-Stuy in the rain like Billy Joel?
Yes, Billy Joel was my spirit.
So here's my John. Can I give my lesser equivalent of Laura's? Walking over the bridge to Juarez when she was 14. I didn't do that because I grew up in Aurora, Illinois, which is like a western suburb of Chicago. But when I was 11, I remember 6th grade, I took the bus. In the winter, so it gets dark around 4:50 p.m. Took the bus to Fox Valley Mall, like a half an hour away by myself, to buy Emotional Rescue, the Stones album. That's the only thing I got. Took the bus back. Got off at the wrong place, so I had to walk 2 miles home in the dark. And my mom's like, "Hey, honey, dinner will be ready in a little bit." I was like, "Thank God."
She didn't even notice you were gone, right?
And that's just, it's a cliche sort of, but that's kind of the way we were raised. And I think Geezer kind of reflects that, we can fucking do this, people.
We're very adaptable.
We figured everything out before there was cell phones, before there was internet. I don't even know how we would organize all of these little excursions and crazy shit that we did when we were kids. If we could do that, then we can figure this out now.
I think as latchkey kids, we were forced to adapt and figure out stuff because we come home and there would be like a refrigerator full of stuff.
Oh man, SpaghettiOs!
SpaghettiOs. I was all about the Steakums. I don't know if anybody else did Steakums. And then I decided I loved Wendy's, and I was trying to figure out how to do the Wendy's hamburger. Like I would even do I would try to do it. I could never get the flavor of the Wendy's hamburger, and I would have all these different experiments. And
Oh, I'm impressed. Wow.
Well, I just, had a lot of time on my hands. All right. So just to tell people because we've got even more people, we're here with Laura LeBleu and Paul von Zielbauer, and we are talking about Geezer Magazine, which is their print-only magazine. There it is.
There it is.
a return to vinyl, and it talks a lot about of the issues that Gen Xers are dealing with now and have dealt with in the past. It's a really great read. It's so beautifully, it's so like you can see, it's beautiful to look at. It's huge.
Aw.
And it
Um,
makes a great holiday gift.
Great holiday gifts.
Oh
By the way,
yeah,
we haven't
great
even talked
holiday
about
gift. Yes.
we haven't even talked about how you would if our any of our listeners would like or viewers would like to order one, like what's the way to do that?
Yeah, go to geezermagazine.com and you can subscribe there. It's 3 times, you'll get it 3 issues a year. It's $120. So it's not the cheapest thing, but it is worth it because this is artisanal, if you will, you
It's
know.
also important to mention it's not just a price because we decided to charge that. It's like
No.
ethically sourced paper. We pay
Yeah.
all of our contributors. We pay the illustrators, the authors.
That's great.
The paper is high quality. You know, the printing costs a ton. So this is an expensive endeavor to do well and
Yeah.
do right.
Yeah, we didn't want to cut any corners. We wanted to make something that really felt like you would want to keep it forever, you know, not just a disposable, like, you know, weekly or whatever. So it's
Do you,
a lot of love and investment has
so
gone into it. Oh,
what's
and I want to
oh,
say,
go ahead.
I can tell it now, and I can also say later, when we're done with this, I'm going to set up a code for anyone who would like 10% off of a subscription.
I like that.
And and I forgot to do it. Sorry, brain fog, you guys.
No, you know,
I forgot to do it
Gen X.
before we started talking. It's going to be, the code will be small 10.
Okay.
So that will
My
get
name, small.
anyone, yeah, small 10. And that will run through December 24th at, you know,
What a great Christmas gift.
11:59. There you go. So give yourself the gift of Geezer, or give
Somebody-
give that
Give your
special
favorite
Gen
Geezer the gift
Xer.
of
Yeah,
Geezer.
give that your favorite Gen Xer the gift of Geezer.
It's just nothing but a G thing.
Right.
I love that.
All right. I'm
Ease
even
up.
making a note to myself that when we're done with this, I'm going to go and put that code in because it doesn't exist unless I write it down.
That's cool. Let's talk about the future of Geezer. So you talked about this, like you have 1 year, you know, Laura, by the kind of goodness
Yeah.
of her heart, is bankrolling this for now, but obviously that's not a sustainable model. What are you seeing? Are you seeing it sort of like a traditional advertising driven model with, because that's kind of what we grew up with.
Yeah, you know, I in my heart, I want this to be mostly subscription driven because that will allow us to retain the autonomy to
Mhm.
tell the stories that we want to tell, in the way that we want to tell them. We're not afraid of, you know, we're not afraid of courting some controversy in how we present our stories, what we talk about. I mean, it's not our it's not our mandate, but we want to have real raw conversations that might make some advertisers a little bit skittish. That said, I would love to have, like, in my dream world, we would have a handful of advertising partners, people who see what we're doing and believe in it and feel like they really mesh with our audience. So I think there's a great opportunity there, for for the right advertiser to come along and be a part of, like, really be a part of Geezer,
Or you could find like
and
a
within the
Lauren,
family.
you find like a Lauren Powell Jobs, like a real philanthropic,
Hey,
um,
we'll take that
Silicon
too.
Valley person who,
Yeah, if
she's,
someone wants to come in and just be
I
like,
mean,
"Hey, we love
he
Geezer, we'll
bankrolls
support
the
it."
Atlantic, and the Atlantic is, pretty independent, I guess, from what
Yeah,
I see, unlike other publications that Bezos runs. So yeah, he's pretty
yeah,
hands off, which is great from what I.
Yeah. And our idea was that Geezer shouldn't look, feel, sound, act like anything else you've ever held in your
yeah,
hand in terms of a print publication. And so to make that, you know, not very unique because that drives me nuts, but just unique, it's hard. And I think the way I describe it, is if we broadcast on a frequency that's ours, that's genuine to us, that reflects what we really think and believe, other people who are attuned to that frequency, whom we may not know and who may not know us,
What's your
will hear
frequency,
it.
Kenneth? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And so, brands are among those people or entities that we hope will, certain brands will, and we want those, and certain brands won't, and that's okay. But I think the more we can fully realize, like, just sort of act in the way that execute the magazine that's true to the things we've been talking about. We hope that that will generate some interest, not from just people, but organizations as well. And maybe they're not companies, maybe they're nonprofits, maybe they're individuals who are also creating a movement of a sort. But that's kind of what we're trying to achieve here in the next 6-8 months.
Yeah.
Just don't take money from Depends or Life Alert.
Well, how much money, John? I mean,
Exactly. If Depends is watching, they're like, we were going to write a check for
Like, fine, thanks a
500
lot,
million.
John.
Yeah.
Metamucil, Geritol. I mean, those are deep pockets.
Geritol. Does
I've
Geritol still
fallen and I
exist?
can't get up. Yeah.
Yeah, they have fallen. That's the Life Alert. Yeah, yeah, that would not be good. Well, anyway, guys, this has been really a pleasure. Best of luck with your publication. I'm excited about it. I love it, and I'm excited to have met you. And Substack is so great for meeting. I have to say, for all the dissing we're doing on digital, I do enjoy it. I do find Substack to be.
It's some cognitive dissonance.
It's a win-lose. A win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like, sometimes the internet is really helpful and other times it's the worst. So take it or leave it.
Yeah.
All right. But this has been fantastic. And until next week, I'm going to bid everybody a farewell. I have my son's theme song, which I will take us out. My son's theme song, meaning that my son is a composer, and he composed this little piece for us, which sounds a little bit like something that you might recognize. Here we go. Can you hear that? Hey.
I think I remember working out to this in pink tights in the 80s.
Small talk.
Come on, it's a dance party.
Anyway, I asked him, I was like, make it like Safety Dance. And I had to send him the Safety Dance theme, and he did a good sound bite. So Elijah Small rocks the house. All right, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Your weekend. Great weekend. See you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.